Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again in our Friday afternoon habit hashtag Chakra Chat. We are very pleased that we are already in our season two of our program, and we cannot thank you enough for being here and for sharing your time and your thoughts with us. As we are already in our season two of learning together and deepening our practice, we are very fortunate to reach this far. Your Chakra Chat session started as your yoga teachers in Chakra were just checking in with each other as our way of coping and sort of kamustahan session, especially during this time of the pandemic. Eventually, like in our practice of yoga, we felt that inner desire to share content and contents that hopefully can complement your asana practice with the goal of giving everyone a full life. We have had amazing guests in the past weeks, and I'm sure this created a lot of realizations and reflections on how we can prosper in our yoga practice and our life in general. And speaking of having a full life, our Chakra Chat episodes help us to understand that our yoga is not just about our relationship in going to our mats, performing poses or asanas, but more importantly, how we bring life to ourselves and in our community. In our episode last week, we had our conversations with a yoga teacher and a yoga therapist, teacher Ivy. It was a very nice conversation indeed, and in fact, we zeroed into the importance of self care. We mentioned that we truly cannot give in an empty cup. You know, as teachers, no, this has been a cliche, but we are again reminded that we cannot give what we do not have. Now, after caring for oneself, it is time to use our self care as a leverage to positively influence other people through our lives. Now, you might be wondering or perhaps thinking that this might not be a conversation that you seem to relate with, since you do not have that much of an influence, or at least you think that way. But you know, in whatever you do, you will always have an influence to other people, especially in your own spheres of interaction. It might not be that big or significant as that of our guest for today, but definitely we all have a certain level of influence in our life and with others. The question is, how do we cultivate positively this influence to create that ripples of change? Joining me to discuss this very interesting topic is a KBP Golden Dove Award finalist for Best TV Host, a content creator, channel host of NikiTV, trusted endorser for national brands, sought after events and corporate host, online events moderator, and an advocate. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Ms. Nicole Abas-Datayan. Hi, Nicole. Good
Hi.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good rainy afternoon. Well, at least in my part of the world, it's raining. So I hope everyone's doing okay. Hi, Teacher Sam. How are you?
I'm very good. How about you, Nicole? Thank you very much for joining Chakra Chat session for this afternoon. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you
How
for
have you
having
been?
me.
How have you been? What have you been busy about for the past few days amidst the pandemic that we are experiencing?
Well, I think like most people, it's really about just adjusting. Every day it's a different thing. We're all learning, we're all adjusting. So I think it's different for everybody. For myself, it's really how uh, not only for myself, adjusting for myself for my everyday activity, it's also for how I adjust to my family, how I can help also my family adjust to everything that's constantly changing every single day.
Yeah. And this episode is entitled Managing Influence to Create Ripples of Positive Impact in CDO and to the World.
Yeah.
So, to begin our conversations, I'd like to ask you, Nicole, no, how do you define influence and what makes an influence positive? And do you consider yourself as influential?
Uh, you know what? I think I'd like to start with this, Sam. I'd like to emphasize that. being an influencer is not only on social media, it's also how you give positive impact in your own little community. Like you said earlier, it could be big, it could be small, it doesn't really matter. What's important is that you start the ripple. You know, you throw a small stone in the water, it just starts getting bigger and bigger, and that's just the most important thing, right there. It's not only on social media, it could be in your parent teacher community. It could also be in the group chat of you and your barkada. So it could be a lot of things, not limited to only social media. And there's also this negative connotation that I've noticed that people have made influencers into. Uh, and I think a lot, I've also noticed that a lot of my contemporaries, a lot of my colleagues in the social media industry are very, very careful about using the term influencer, fearful that there's people are gonna say, oh, you know, influencers are people who are after X deals. Influencers are people who are after freebies. Influencers are people who are there only for the fame. And most of this are not true. I acknowledge there are people who take advantage of the industry, but this is not true for most. So there you go.
Yeah, I agree. No, especially with social media, I think that that the idea of being an influencer seems to be changing. No, do you consider yourself as a social media influencer?
I would say I'm a noob. I'm a newbie. I'm learning, but I'm enjoying the learning curve. I've done TV for 20 years. So when I jumped into social media, the vlogging part wasn't very new to me because it's a little bit like TV, but there were a lot of things that I had to adjust to. Netizens are not the same audience as TV audience, not at all. Uh, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I could call myself that yet.
Sige, Nicole, you mentioned that that's a very interesting point that you emphasized, no, that the TV viewers and the netizens seems to be different. Could you kindly elaborate on that point?
It's more real time for netizens. It's almost immediate, and there is that platform where uh, they can also immediately respond to how whether or not they like it, and there is also no control, and that's scary. That you cannot control uh, their comments. You know, for TV, it's just like, you know, you get on cam and then you get off cam and that's it. You're done. You're done. And but for social media, you put out a video or you go on live. You know, no one's there. Who's to say who's going to control whether they're gonna say bad things about you or not? So there's always that fearfulness. But I think also at the same time, if you believe that what you're doing is right and you're doing everything out of kindness and you're not stepping on anybody to get to where you want to go, we're all good.
Yeah. Sige, Nicole, I'm also interested. What are your advocacies? You've mentioned in your bio note that you are an advocate. I'm interested to know what are you most passionate about? How did you end up being so passionate about these things?
Um, right now, there are three I'm really pushing and I'm working very hard on. Number one is the HIV and AIDS awareness campaign. Number two would be the women's right advocacy, and then number three would be children's education. You know, Sam, this is funny how before I would say that uh, unless unless it's a personal experience for you, don't bother about campaigning for an advocacy because you really need that certain type of commitment. But uh, and then I got into HIV and AIDS awareness campaign, which I did not have any personal experience with. You know, I didn't have any friends who pushed me into wanting to to campaign for it, I just found myself, I was working for ABS at the time, and I found myself doing a photo shoot uh, to help, because it was a project with the station. And then while doing the photo shoot, I started talking to persons living with HIV. I started listening to stories about AIDS survivor, and I realized that this was something that was very, very important for not only for me, but for many people to help campaign, to help raise awareness. Because my other two advocacies are advocacies that were very, very close to my heart, and nobody had to tell me what to do. I was the one who seeked out. I sought out projects where I could help out on women's rights and children's education.
Yeah, I think these three important areas are things that we can actually work on. In terms of women's rights and education, you have extensively discussed HIV being part of your advocacy. How about the other two? How did it grow into you, these two areas?
Um, the, the women's rights. Initially, I was invited. Many years ago, I was invited to be part of the Vagina Monologue. This is
Mm,
part of the campaign also to help raise awareness against abuse done to women, abuse done also to children. But I wasn't very comfortable about doing monologues for Vagina Monologue. There were many factors that kept me from doing it. And then something happened uh, that was too close to home to me. Somebody very, very close to me experienced sexual, mental, and physical abuse. And I said, I really, really want to do this now. And then the opportunity for me to do Vagina Monologue came again, and I grabbed it and I started reading the monologues, and I was so taken by how the experiences of other women could also help bring that voice to others who are too scared to come up and complain about the abuse that was done to them. And the Vagina Monologues is not only about talking about sexual activity, sexual abuse, but no, it's also an education for women to also find where they can run to, that it's okay to speak out, that it's all right to break, because there's a community that will help you put yourself together again.
yeah. How about education?
For the children's education, I was a preschool teacher before, uh, but for the longest time also, I have a very special space in my heart for children. And then I ventured into special education, teaching special children. As much as that broke my heart, I had to step back for a little bit, and I realized that I just didn't have the strength to work with special children. I just it was crazy how every after a session with special children, I would just go home crying. So, and then a friend of mine said, you don't have to stop. You could always teach other children. And I said, but the very thing that made me want to do this is because I wanted to help special children. But and then every child is special in his or her own way. So I ventured into preschool education, and then I realized that there are still so many children lacking the opportunity, lacking the knowledge that there are rights to education, that they can grab it. They should be able to have that right to educate themselves. It's still so much lacking. So a group of friends and I, every year before the school year started, we would come together and get funds and raise funds to come up with school materials to help out children in far-flung areas who have a hard time getting school materials, pencils, notebooks, very little things, but mean a lot to them.
Yeah. I think these are very powerful and amazing set of advocacies, though. Um, and I sincerely believe in each of the things that you are fighting for. And now, when it comes to influences, no, Nicole, different kinds of influences can be both good and bad. When people are popular or holds position of influence or power, much is expected from them. As you are a celebrity, you have a certain influence in your community. I'm thinking, how do you use this influence for the worthy causes that you have mentioned earlier? And how do you promote your advocacy through this influence that you have?
Um, the groups that I work with are already uh, have members who are amazing, very talented members. They've already come up with the marketing strategies. They've already come up with how we can promote this and everything, and that's really, really good. But for me, really, when you are trying to advocate for these types of campaigns, I think it's very important that you walk the talk, because talking is really, really cheap when it comes to doing these things. You should be able to, for me, uh, uh, give full commitment to each of your advocacies. Uh, Live it every day. You have to live it every day. You don't only come up on stage, go on television, uh, make a content, type in your advocacy, post a picture, and then you're done. No, it has to be continuous. You have to be consistent with it, so people can listen to it. People can learn from it also.
I like how you mentioned about walking the talk, no? Because there are a lot of influencers who just promote a certain advocacy that would seem like sort of a product that they sell, and then off cam or off screen they do differently, and there's no alignment in what they believe in and what they fight for. I have here a question, Nicole, from Teacher XT. Teacher XT is watching. No? How did your advocacies change you in your journey to your life's purpose?
Uh, Life's purpose. I think I think I would switch that around. The advocacy became part of my life's purpose. So these are things that uh, help me go from one step to another, help me also with my growth as a person. Uh, these are all things that I learned along the way as well. I did not come into the advocacy knowing everything. So every time we do a campaign, I learn more, and I'm grateful and thankful for it that I am able to be of help, even if it's in a little way, because these are big organizations as well.
I like the idea, Nicole, when you mentioned that you don't necessarily need to know everything in the things that you're fighting for, because everything seems to be a learning experience, and everything as we go along in our journey, we get to add something, no, in order to be more committed in the things that we fight for or in the advocacies that we believe in. And there are a lot of people who we can network with, in order to promote these advocacies. Now, Nicole, there are people who do not seem to find themselves like influential and are kind of discouraged to pursue things that they are advocates of. What can be your advice for these people?
Uh, what do you mean? Like they're hesitant about campaigning for an advocacy?
I mean, there are some people who do not find themselves influential. Hindi naman ako
Oh,
sikat, so I might not be able to promote this advocacy, parang ganon.
yeah. But that's, I think that's something that, going back to what you said also, Sam, a small ripple. It does. You don't have to be a big person. You don't have to be a celebrity. You don't have to be a politician. You don't have to be whatever. Uh, a teacher in a small classroom is already the influence in a child's life. A mother of one, a mother of five is already an influence in her child's life. So it really does not matter what your status is, it just matters that you want to help. One will become 100, 100 will become 1,000 people to help raise and make that voice even louder.
So yeah, one action can lead to a certain domino effect, that leads others to do the same, And it
Definitely.
seems to be a very wonderful scenario when people just get out of themselves and really promote the things that they wanted to promote. Now, to hold an influence, Nicole, has not always been a walk in the park. No, there are times that our influence come with much responsibility and caution. As you have mentioned earlier, when you had the chance to be a social media person, no, there seems to be that. Fear, no, of engaging with netizens because they want it quick, fast, and real. No, could you tell us what are the challenges of having an influence in the community, perhaps in social media or in walks of the different roles that you play?
Um, there's a lot of fear, which I understand. Like a while ago, a lot of people will say, I might not be that voice that you're looking for. But I think that everything that you do out of kindness, everything that you do out of love, everything that you do truthfully, everything that you do without a mask will always be successful, uh, will always help you through the bumps on the road. There will always be obstacles. There will always be bashers, especially on social media. There will always be people who will find faults. Uh, uh, your good and your bad will still be bad. So that's something that you need to accept when you do social media influencing. They will always find faults in your body image, find faults in the way that you speak, find faults in the way that you write things. So, again, we just go back to I am doing this out of love. I am doing this out of a commitment to something that I want to become better. So when there is that thought, it's easy to overcome what other people are trying to do to shoot you down.
Yeah, I think that's very important. No, the idea of authenticity. No, you need to always live your truth in whatever things that you do. Now, I would like to ask you, Nicole. No, everyone tends to be drained with work and with negativities around us, and even with different factors within and external to us. Where do you find your strength? No, how do you fill your cup so that you'd be able to share yourself even more to others?
It's very important to love what you do. Because if you don't love what you do, it's useless. You're just not only wasting your time, you're wasting everybody else's time. But when you love it, it doesn't matter that you are investing your body, you're investing your mental health, you are also investing money, you're also investing your physical strength. All of that does not matter when you truly love what you do, you're enjoying it. I felt that for the longest time I was just getting paid to do. I was getting paid to just do something that I like doing. So it was good. And I always tell people that if you're not happy, um, don't. It don't. You will find something that means a lot to you because you love it, and because you love what you're doing, the rewards will be coming in multiples as well.
Mhm. Uh, you mentioned that it's important to love what you do, no? In your case, Nicole, was it automatic or was it easy for you to discover that something that you love to do?
Like to be specific, like hosting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I I think I started hosting because I took on summer jobs. I took on summer jobs. I wanted to help my family with college tuition. So and then I found out that I was working with Jollibee, and then they said that you know what, we like how you speak. Would you like to do the children's parties for us? That was the marketing team, and I said, I'm not sure, you know. So and then I started doing the parties, and I found out that I truly enjoyed doing the children's party, and I never thought that I would actually end up doing television, hosting for real. So again, I think it's just about discovering what you like, um, doing a lot of things, you know, exploring as you know, especially for the young ones, explore as many things as possible to discover what exactly would make you happy and grab that opportunity. Maybe you can even make a career out of it, like I did. Uh, yeah. So go out and explore.
That's a very interesting note, Nicole, no, that you started working in Jollibee, no? And ended up as a award-winning, no, host, TV host and personality in Cagayan, di ba? Uh, how did you work for you to gain the influence that you currently have? No, what is your secret sauce? What are the ingredients for us to gain that positive influence in the community?
um, I think I would say that my true north would be my child. Uh, there are times when I would be tempted to post a certain thing, a certain content, which I would admit in my younger days, I would just, without a second thought, I would post it. But now, I would take a step back and then I would think, would my daughter be proud of me if I put this out? Uh, would she learn anything positive if I put this one out? So she would always be my true north. Never mind, you know, amidst the temptation. And if I may, Sam, this is something that I've also noticed with a lot of people who have big followings. Uh, I feel so sayang that they're not using it positively. They're putting out content that encourages young people to do not so good things. Uh, they would encourage political rift. They would also encourage religious rift, and these are things that could have been easily avoided. But you know, I have to also tell you that the temptation, the rush of having so many people comment on your thread when it's a negative post, you know. So I also understand that a lot of these people like posting negative things because negative things naturally, I don't know why, naturally also invite so many comments, so many followings, so many likes compared to positive posts, posts about, you know, doing well, kindness, love, commitment will only get you 50 likes. But posts about having people argue with one another, debates, negativity would get you 1,000 likes. So uh, a lot of them would prefer to post things on a negative side to get those likes.
Yeah, and I think that especially right now when people are triggered by various issues in social media, I hope that our viewers can be that positive light, no, amidst all the darkness there is in social media specifically. No, people have been trying to be the right person, well, in fact, that all opinions are right in different
Yeah.
ways, diba? Sige. What has been your greatest achievement that you have attained, in being an influencer?
Uh, I think for me would be relationships. relationships that I've built from being able uh, to do these things, outside of advocacies, outside of the endorsements that I've done. Uh, because the challenge also is it's not only advocacy. I'd like to emphasize it's not only uh, advocacies that you promote, also products that you promote. Number one would always be, again, authenticity. Uh, do you actually use these products? Do you actually believe in these advocacies? Because if you don't, people would eventually figure it out. And the clients that I have eventually become friends because when everything is done truthfully, when everything is done with authenticity, with realness, you also produce relationships, good relationships also. And also because you produce good relationships, it becomes word of mouth as well. So for jobs, that's really good. You get more jobs because people eventually also would love to refer you to other people as well.
And I think that not only for being hosts or TV personalities, no, but in general, no, people um, are magnetized by people who are real and who are honest and who are lovable, right? So, considering that you have been an award-winning host and known personality in our community, is there anything else that you would want to attain or aspire for?
Um, Maybe to be able to do really, really well also on social media. To be, uh, there's still so many things that I'm still learning, and I'm enjoying it so far. So I don't find it as difficult because, again, I'm enjoying it. I think that to do social media as well as I did TV before, maybe that.
Okay. Sige, we have a question, but before I pose the question, I would like to invite our viewers to ask questions to our guest for today. No, we are very interested to know also what you think about our conversations for today. The administrator of Chakra Yoga Studio asked this question. Can you share to us what are the small tips or events or scenarios that you did for the past months during the pandemic?
Uh, we did. I was very, very lucky to be able to start and move into online hosting. I'm very blessed to be able to do that when as early as I think as early as April, I was able to do a hosting online, and it was so much fun to find out that you can actually do it. My audience were all online, and we also did a concert, a fundraising concert, One Love CDO, to be able to come up with funds to help uh, suppliers in the industry while they are having a hard time figuring things out. And then for Bounce Back CDO as well to help other people. I've been asked to guest on shows, to share, and also tonight actually I have another one that I will host for the art community. So that it's been keeping me busy, and I like being busy.
I'm very happy. I saw the poster in your social media account. No, one of our teachers, teacher Nats, will be one of the guests that you will be having later.
Oh, yay!
So yeah, no, it's a very interesting times, no, challenging, but also a lot of opportunities that comes out, no, like maximizing the use of social media. Even our educational system, diba, are using technology in order to deliver the kind of education which wasn't there before, but now is currently the situation, right?
That's
Um,
right. That's right.
what are you up to next, no, Nicole? What are the other things na kailangan namin subaybayan, no, in your journey?
Ah, oh, we are. It's in the works to come up with a regular show online over NikiTV. I will be working with some of the few people that I used to work with, sa ABS-CBN, and that's very, very exciting. And then we will be launching, hopefully we're still fingers crossed, we will be launching an online pageant. So yeah, so a lot of things. I have to admit that, despite the number of events that's coming up, I still feel very, very lonely. It's not the same. I'm so used to working over many years with different kinds of people. I'm always surrounded by people. I'm a person who gets um, the vibe and energy from other people, and I enjoy it. And then to be to be stuck at home is very difficult for the kind of person that I am. So, but then prayers help a lot. Prayers help a lot. And then I do have friends who talk to me, and I would like to also encourage other people, when you feel lonely, you don't have to be alone. There will always be people that you can talk to. Never mind if it's Zoom. Never mind if it's online. Just uh, a little bit more of staying at home, wearing your mask, staying healthy, protecting the people around you. This will be over. This too shall pass.
Yes. We have a viewer, Shari Lapis, gives a shout out to you, Miss Nicole. So thank you very
Hi,
much, Shari.
Sherry. Sherry is actually also one of the influencers here in Mindanao. Hi, Sherry. Maybe Sherry can also tell us how she influences. In what way, right, Sam?
Yeah.
Let's wait. There, I can see Sherry's comment. Maybe Sherry can comment also, because we do have a bloggers community where they have, each of them, they have in their own way tried to also make a positive impact in the community. Jessica Achas Chan is one of the top vloggers also. I just saw her comment. Hi, Jessica. Maybe Jessica can also comment on how she influences in her own way.
Yeah, and perhaps XT and I can ask them to be one of our guests soon here in our Chakra Chat.
Yes, yes. Sam, while we're waiting for them to answer, maybe I could throw the question back to you in your yoga community. How are you influencing the yoga community? I know for a fact that X is also telling me that it's been difficult. There are no face-to-face classes, and you guys are doing online classes. But how are you continuing your influence in the yoga community?
Okay, I wasn't prepared for that. But thank you for that question, Nicole. You know, it has been challenging also for the yoga community because yoga is a very intimate and a communal experience at the same time. Sometimes it's quite difficult to do classes online because there needs to be a personal touch and a personal interaction, no, when we do yoga classes. But I think that more and more, and especially at this point, yoga seems to be a very valuable and vital aspect of wellness and considering the well-being of the community in general. No, people are becoming anxious, and there needs to be that practice of yoga to help people to be more mindful and at the same time present at the moment. So, yeah, it's a tough time, no, for the yoga community, but like anyone, no, like all businesses and industries, no, it has been tough, but there are a lot of opportunities as well, similar to having this activity, no, online sessions and sessions concerning people. And we, I also work in an academic institution, and before, it's so hard to bring a speaker into the school, no? But because of technology and because of our situation, it seems that the borders are being, the gap in the borders are being put down so that people are more interactive with each other. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So it's really about using uh, your special skill set to be
Mhm.
able to make a mark in our own community, in our own way also. So no one is not an influencer, I think. If you just really want to do it, you can.
So we have
Cool.
a message from Jessica Achas-Chan. During the whole quarantine, being blogging, sharing our home activities with kids, healthy food preparations, and continuous communication to fellow mom bloggers to do the same. And simply positive posts on social media lang yun para dili magdugang sa ka-stress o badness, Nicole. So that's the
Yeah.
response.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. I think that's a really good tip. Dili lang idugang ang stress, no? We can always just find ways not only to lessen the toxicity on social media, but also at home para dili mag-spill over ang toxicity because a lot of us I think say that that person is so toxic, but you also don't realize that in some ways and in many ways you yourself you're also a
Contribute.
toxic person. So thanks, Jessica. Thanks also for your vlogs, and don't forget Jessica Achas Chan. Follow her also on YouTube. There.
And then I like how Jessica mentioned that it doesn't need to be like doing something different, right? It can be something that you usually do and just share it in the social media. We also have a comment from Shari. Shari mentioned, hello po. As one of the organizers of CDO vloggers, I'm just really myself to be careful on what I share online. To be aware that the youth, especially new influencers, need guidance from adults and just spreading selflessness and positivity as well as faith and hope that this came to pass. Yeah.
Yes, I like that. I like that. Thank you, Shari. I like that. I think that's very important. The guidance for youth, no, because the youth, our audience, are the ones who watch us, and whatever we say on social media, especially if we have a big following, they will take it as the word. What we say is Bible to them. So that's really the responsibility for influencers, especially the ones who are also part of CDO vloggers. There you go. Thank you, Shari. That's a really good tip also for everyone.
Thank you, Shari. And from Chakra Yoga Studio, holding virtual space is really a struggle, but we believe yoga can help everyone. Yoga made it through thousands of years of challenge, and of course, a big yes now in the present time. We wanted to reach and teach with intention. Thank you.
What does that mean to reach and teach with intention, Teacher Sam?
Because in our yoga practice is really an intentional practice. Every time we begin with yoga, we ask why are we doing this? No, so purposeful living and purposeful practicing of yoga has always been part of that practice. So I think it's very important that before you do something, you need to reach out to your why first. I think this is quite connected to Simon Sinek's golden circle, no? To understand the why before the what and the how. Every time we begin doing something, we try to understand first the purpose because the more
Yeah.
that we are aligned with our purpose, the more that we are able to give our best and our full potential.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really a really good thing to internalize, to learn, and to apply in our everyday lives.
Yeah. Is there anything, Nicole, that you would want to endorse or to perhaps ask our audience to catch you or events that you would want to advertise as well?
Um, Maybe just follow me on NikiTV 40. That's my social media platform for Facebook. On my Facebook page, it's NikiTV 40. On Instagram, Twitter as well. So really easy to find me. NikiTV 40. Also on YouTube. But maybe before we go, Teacher Sam, allow me to encourage everybody to just stay positive. I know it's very hard. I'm having a hard time despite uh, I even think that I might even have it a little bit easier than the others, but I still have a hard time. Let's not judge other people. Let's be a little more tolerant on other people's mistakes and faults. We're all learning. We're all adjusting. Let's be kind. Let's help to make things easier for one another.
Thank you very much, Nicole. And like how we usually end our yoga classes, we place our hands, our palms together in front of our faces, and we bow down to each other, recognizing the light in each one. Namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thanks, everyone.